welcome to those of you that are catching this on the replay. Um, I'm just going to do a little recap of the last couple of sessions. So this is the third and the last in this free mini series that I've been offering on manifestation and abundance. I love. So the first session that we did on Monday was really a lot about, well, me giving an overview on kind of manifestation and abundance anyway, and why we're totally all allowed, worthy, capable of drawing in whatever it is that we want. In this particular sort of situation, we're primarily talking about like abundance, wealth, work, dharma, like whatever it is, like bringing in money and wealth, doing what we want to be doing and what we love to be doing. So the first session was really all about clarity. Is like, what do you want? Why do you want it? And how will you feel when you get what you want? Because it's super, super important that we get really, really clear, not only with where we are, but where we want to get to, where we want to be. Because without that, we don't really have like a good roadmap to get to where we want to be. Okay. So if you didn't catch the first or the second part, you can see the recordings on IGTV. You can find them on my personal Facebook page as well, my personal profile. It's all saved there. So I really recommend going back and watching the other two because it will make everything kind of make sense as well. So the second workshop was really all about the shadow work. Okay, so the shadow work being our subconscious beliefs, our belief system, the belief system that we were primarily given from our caregivers growing up before the age of 7, our society, our cultures, which really have a massive impact and bearing on whether we're getting what we want. Okay, because what happens is we have our conscious desire, like, yeah, I want this, like I want to be making 5 grand a month, 10 grand a month, 50 grand a month, whatever it is. But for some reason it's just not happening. No matter how hard I try, no matter how many things I do, no matter how hard I work, I just can't seem to get there. I mean, firstly, maybe we don't even know where there is, in which case, well, you know, there's a little clue there in and of itself. But with shadow work, like if we're not doing the shadow work, if we're finding that there's something that's inherently holding us back, we're getting really fucking frustrated. It's like, I want to be here, but I'm not. Essentially, there's a value conflict. Okay, there's a conflict that is going on in your life. You have a conscious desire, but you have a bunch of subconscious beliefs, which the whole point of like subconscious, right, is it's beneath our conscious, it's beneath our awareness. So our subconscious beliefs stay subconscious. They stay below our conscious awareness until we make them fucking conscious, right? Until we actually take the torch and shine the light of our own awareness on our subconscious, okay? And if we're not doing that, if we're not prepared to do that, if we're not willing to do that, if we don't know how to do it, we're never going to get unstuck from where we are. We're always going to stay in the same place. And actually, there's no such thing as status quo, right? We talk about, oh, status quo, I'm just kind of cruising. I'm just saying that there's no such thing. You are either evolving or you are devolving, right? There's only 2 options. So if you're staying in what you think is a status quo, if you're not prepared to get the torch out and shine the light of awareness on what's holding you back, you're actually gradually going downhill. So think about where you are now. Like if nothing changes, where will you be in a year? Where will you be in 5 years? It won't be in the same fucking place. It will be a lot worse, right? It will be a lot harder. Your stories will be stronger. You'll be in more misery. There'll be so much more for you to fucking complain about, right? So that's the shadow work, okay? And this is part of why like abundance manifestation can sometimes get a bit of a bad rap from being a bit like happy, clappy, spiritual, like, because when The Secret was released, for those of you that watched The Secret, I did 14 years ago, it was all just about the law of attraction. It's about like thinking about what you want and like kind of affirmations and bringing yourself up to this place where you're vibrating at the same vibration as what it is you want. And then you kind of, the impression that The Secret gave was that you just sit back on your couch and hope that it fucking comes in through sheer luck. Okay, that's not how it works. Okay, we have to do the shadow work. Okay, we are human beings by nature of the fact that we have a human body, we have a shadow. So therefore we have to dive into the shadow. So the next part of this is the light work, right? It is the more fun stuff. It's the stuff that you kind of hear about. It's the stuff that you're like, yeah, this is kind of what actually really excites me, right? So this is mostly what I'll be talking about today. So you know, the light work, this part of this manifestation process is really about like filling your life up with abundance. And now when I say fill your life up with abundance, I don't mean just like fill your life up with shit. Like, don't just go and buy stuff for the sake of buying stuff. You don't even have to buy anything. But it's recognizing that in your life that is already abundant, and it's connecting to that. It's recognizing that nature is inherently abundant, right? By nature, nature is abundant. Like, I live here in Bali. I'm sitting in my bedroom right now and I can look outside, and the nature is mind blowing. It is in abundance, and it is always for growth. It is always growing. It's always evolving. So when we start to tune our awareness to that which is abundant, we start to like raise our own vibration to abundance in general. And I touched on in the first part of this series around when we do this work, we're actually not really just going in. We're not at all just going in and doing work on money. We're doing work on scarcity and abundance as like massive topics, because you cannot be abundant in one area of your life and not in others, right? You can't live in scarcity in one part of your life and have gross abundance in another area. Scarcity mindset, and abundance mindset is abundance mindset. So we're going right to the root. We're going right to the base of your beliefs around a scarcity. Like, are you somebody that sees the world kind of a bit of a negative way? People are out to get you. People are kind of a bit weird. You know, you're kind of judgmental around people. Do you like to have a good bitch and moan how weird people are, how difficult people are, how annoying people are? Well, that's a scarcity mindset. So if you have that and you're wondering why there isn't a flow of abundance and money coming into your life, but you are inherently connected, period. Okay. So start to look for things that are abundant. Look for people in your life that are abundant, that express abundance. Perhaps they shower you with abundant love. Like, perhaps they're really giving and caring and nurturing towards you. Look for the abundance in nature. Like, recognize that which is abundance. Like, actively seek out abundance. Okay. And actively stop looking for scarcity. Stop like looking for people that are fucking doing you over. Like, stop looking for things that are just not right, they're a bit wrong. Like, stop looking, like trying to pick freaking holes in stuff. Okay. If you're someone that's constantly like judging, constantly wanting to like find something wrong in someone or with someone, like that will be massively holding you back. Okay. And here's the other thing, like, you know, especially when it comes to social media, like, unfollow people who don't lift you up. Like, unfollow people who are not vibrating at the frequency you want to be vibrating at. And that isn't to say that it means that you stop caring about, you know, particular people or particular causes or organizations. Like, I was following quite a few people who were really lobbying about, you know, child sex trafficking. And I went through this period of time where, you know, I'm really passionate about that as a topic, right? It's huge. But what was happening was my feed was filling up with this negativity. And I found myself every single morning as soon as I woke up, like jumping onto Instagram and going through this. And that's how I was starting my day. So my day was starting with negativity. And then I went through this whole process of realizing that that was this cycle that I got caught up in, but then feeling really bad at the thought of unfollowing this, because I was like, maybe it means I don't care anymore about it. Okay. And it doesn't, I ultimately got to the point where it's like, no, it doesn't change whether I care or not. What it changes is how I feel on a day-to-day basis. Because if I don't feel good on a day-to-day basis, then guess what? Nobody around me is going to feel as good on a day-to-day basis. Okay. Because my energy directly impacts those who I'm around. Okay. So again, think about the top 5 people that you spend the most time with. Are they people who you want to be influencing you or not? Like, it's a really easy one. Do you feel uplifted when you're around them? Do you feel safe? Do you feel supported? Do you feel like they are helping you to elevate yourself? If not, think about who you're spending time with, because it really, 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 really matters. Okay. Put boundaries up around conversations. So if you can't like distance yourself from certain people, perhaps it's family members that, you know, it's just not possible to, put boundaries up around conversations that you don't want to be having anymore, that do not lift you, that do not support you. Okay, you've got to start getting really conscious about what you talk about who you talk about how you talk about what you talk about. Okay. and really listen to the languaging that you use. Okay, so this is a huge one. I touched on this again the other day, but really think really carefully and really mindfully, like, what language do you use in life, period, right? Are you somebody that often says things like, I can't do that, like, I don't know how to do that, like, that's not my, I can't, like, it's just not possible for me to do that, this is too hard, this is too challenging. You know, anytime we say that, like, our words become our reality. So whatever you say manifests into reality. Like Henry Ford years ago said, if you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're right. And it's the same, like, our words are a direct result of our thoughts. Our thoughts are a direct result of our subconscious mind. Okay. So if you are saying, like, I can do this or I can't do that, like, it's true. Okay. Look at things like the words that you're saying that paint a picture with the world. Like, the world is such a fucking disaster right now. Like, think about the things that you just kind of flippantly say, that just kind of roll off your tongue, and really start looking for what's true. Okay, and when I say true, I mean true with a capital T, like truths. Okay, that can be what's real for you. Like, if you're experiencing the world as a disaster or the economy as a disaster right now, like, that's your reality, but it's not ultimate truth. And what I mean by ultimate truth is that if there is just even like one exception to a rule, it means it's not the truth with a capital T. So let's say I'm not experiencing that the economy is a disaster right now. So even if I was the only person on this entire planet that was not experiencing the economy as a disaster, it means that it's not actually inherent truth with a capital T. Okay, so start looking, like, when you make these kind of flippant statements that are on the negative side, that are kind of bringing you down, like, seriously start to look at what is true and ask yourself that question: is this truth right now? Is every single person on this planet experiencing this exact thing as true? Or is it a construct of my upbringing, of my conditioning, of my subconscious mind, of the beliefs that I'm freaking subscribing to? Okay. Notice as well if you're using these words that indicate really finite languaging, like I always, I never, he never, she never, she always, he always, right? When we use those words, it's a bit like I can't, I don't, right? It closes off any possibility for anything to ever be any different than what it is by your assertion. Okay, so really start looking at, like, what words are you using, and start to question that. Like, if you're condemning someone, like, he always does that, like, is that true? Does he every single time without fail always do that? Or is it like quite often he does that, quite often I do that, sometimes this happens, sometimes that happens? Okay, because our words are our wants. Okay, like, our words are so fucking powerful. So choose your words really, really wisely. Okay. So this came up to me. I decided to add this in, and I touched a little bit about the laws of the universe that kind of really shape how we work with manifestation and abundance. And one of the laws is the law of relativity. Okay, which basically states that everything is relative. Nothing is an absolute. Everything is relative. Like, something is only hot when we compare it to something that is cooler, right? Something is only cold when we compare it to something that is warmer. All right. So, you know, one of the phrases that I often hear from people that often, like, I mean, it used to come out of my mouth was things like, oh, that's really expensive. What are you relating it to? Okay, notice if that's something like you hear about something that you want to invest in, you want to buy, you're interested in, and it's like, that's really expensive. It's like, seriously, like, ask yourself, like, what are you relating it to? Usually when we say, oh, that's expensive, we're not actually relating it to something that compares in value. So again, notice your conditioned way of thinking, notice your conditioned way of speaking about wealth, about abundance, about money, and really, like, start to question absolutely fucking everything, because that's what our job is. That's what our role is in life, right? If you want to live outside of the matrix outside of this just deeply patterned and conditioned behavior, you've got to question everything that comes out your mouth. You've got to question everything that you think. Like, is that true? Is that real? Is that true for me? That might have been true for me a year ago, but is that still true for me now? Like, really get honest with yourself, because this is where your change will happen. Like, this is where the magic really lies. Okay. So I talked the other day about affirmations, and how like affirmations are great, and affirmations are a part of the light work. You know, so you might have an affirmation that, you know, wealth flows abundantly into my life with ease. Okay, that could be an affirmation. And you can create whatever you want, like whatever affirmation you want. And affirmations are great, okay, and they absolutely have their place in the manifestation and abundance work. But if you haven't worked through your subconscious beliefs, if you haven't worked through your limiting beliefs, then these affirmations will literally just bounce back off of this part of your brain that's called the reticular activation center, which is essentially the part of your brain that develops when you're around 7 years old, or starts to develop when you're around 7 years old, which is the part of your brain that questions and discerns. Okay, I gave the example on the first call that, you know, those of you that have been around young children or have young children before the age of like 4, 5, 6, you can say to a kid, you know, talk to them about the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy, and they're like, yeah, legit, that's real. Like, there's totally, yeah, totally. Like, you can tell them anything, right? My dad used to tell me that haggis were little creatures with one leg shorter than the other that used to run around the Scottish Highlands in one direction. And if they ran the other way around, they'd fall down the mountains, right? I believed that. I can see you laughing. The Brits will get that joke. Probably no one else will. You know, I believed that for so many years, like way too many years, actually, as it happens. But once we're around 7 years old, this part of our brain called the reticular activation center starts to develop, okay? And that's the discerning part of our brain that starts to question what we've been told, what we've been taught, okay? But it doesn't question really retrospectively. It only questions from there on in, okay? So if we have a really strong belief that we have not yet uncovered, that I am not worthy of money. Money does not flow effortlessly into my life. Like, I am destined to be poor. This is how I started life. This is how I'll finish life. Then just by chanting an affirmation of like, wealth flows effortlessly into my life, it's going to do jack shit. Like, it really, really is. It's going to bounce off that reticular activation, because it's really discerning, because there's a whole bunch of beliefs in your subconscious that very much completely counter this affirmation that you're trying to place in. Okay, so this is really why like the shadow work is so freaking important. All right, so once we start to do the shadow work, we can start to use affirmations, but use them wisely. So for example, like if something, you know, if you come up with an affirmation like, you know, I am wealthy beyond my wildest dreams. And when you say that, if it does not feel even remotely plausible, like you say it and you kind of do that like inside, like internal snarky laugh, then it will bounce off your reticular activation center in your brain. Okay, and your ego will find even more ways to dispel that as a new belief. So you want to find a softer version. So let's say it's like, you know, I'm wealthy beyond my wildest dreams. Like perhaps that's just a step too far in a belief right now. Maybe it's just like, I have enough. Like, I have enough, right? Because maybe at the moment you're in like, I do not have enough. Like, I'm in that grabby sort of phase. Like, I never feel like I have enough. Money just seems to like fall through my fingertips. I can never keep hold of it. I only ever just have enough that comes in to just have enough that goes out. Okay. So maybe your affirmation is like, I have enough. I feel safe with the money I have. I feel secure with the money I have, right? So you want to find affirmations that you actually can subscribe to, not ones that just feel so freaking crazy that you're going to reject them, okay? So another thing that is a really important practice is getting over this I know. Like, I know that. I know this. I know that. Yep, I know this. If you know it, you wouldn't be on this call, right? You wouldn't have a need for this information. So get over yourself, basically. Like, you know, and it really is that, like, begin with a big, like, start with a beginner's mind and end with a beginner's mind. Really humble yourself. Humble yourself that you might intellectually know something, but if wealth is not showing up in your life, if you do not have the money that you want to have, you don't know this, right? You don't know it on a cellular level. You have not embodied this. You have not got this into every single cell in your body. Okay, so humble yourself, recognize that you still have a lot to learn. We all have a lot still to learn. And it's like those statements of like, I can't, I don't, she always, he always, right? The I know just stops any possibility of anything else coming into your life and changing. Okay, so be humble. Commit to a daily practice. Okay, this work, as I said yesterday in our call, is a daily practice. See it like a long-term relationship. This is not a short-term fling. Okay, this isn't a quick little, you know, fling that you have for a week and then you drop it because, you know, maybe, you know, you dive into this and you don't see much change and then you let go of it. You're like, that was bullshit. That was rubbish. It doesn't work. Yeah, it's not going to work if you don't do it, if you don't commit to it, right? Nothing works if you don't if you don't do it. And this is the thing that cracks me up in coaching, and you know, clients that sign up for stuff and they're like, that didn't work. It's like, well, I don't know, did you do it? I'm kind of guessing you probably didn't. Like, did you go all in? I'm guessing you probably didn't, because if you did, you'd be getting results, right? So look back at your life, like, what have you subscribed to that hasn't worked? And where have you pointed the finger of blame to somebody else, right? And start to take ownership. Start to take ownership of like what you're doing, what you're not doing, you know. And this is what this is all about, right? It's really taking our power back. Like, it's really reclaiming our own power to actually show up for ourselves and do what we say we do so that we can get what we want. The other thing is, you know, taking inspired action. Like I said, I've touched on the teachings of The Secret for a brief moment, the law of attraction, right? It's like, yes, raise your vibration. Like, it's super important. Like, you have to be vibrating at the frequency of that which you want to bring in, or the frequency of that which needs to come in order for you to get what you want, right? Because maybe it's an opportunity, maybe it's a person that you need to meet who will present you with an opportunity that will result in an experience where you start making more money, for example. You have to be vibrating at that frequency, okay? And you have to take inspired action, okay? This is the thing. I remember watching this really brilliant video from Mike Dooley. So he was one of the creators of The Secret. And he did this video, I think it was a few years after The Secret was released, because they realized that a lot of people had kind of misunderstood The Secret, because they hadn't been super duper clear, to be honest. They really had focused a lot on the law of attraction and not much on all the other laws that come into manifestation and abundance. And they were getting a lot of like complaints from people that were like, this doesn't work. I'm raising my vibration and I'm putting out the energy of like all these things, of these like checks just arriving in my mailbox and nothing's happened. He's like, here's the thing. You wouldn't just get in your car and expect to magically appear in the next city, right? You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't get in your car like in London and just sit there and expect to get to Nottingham. You would turn the engine on, you would put the car in gear, and you would press the gas and you would drive, right? And that's, you know, that's a really basic way of saying you've got to take inspired action. Like, you've got to move yourself forwards, right? We are both the solution and the problem in our lives, right? So by being the solution, it means we have to take action. We're the solution. Like, what's the solution? What's to take fucking action, right? And if you don't know what inspired action is or feels like, you have not got still enough. You have not got quiet enough to tap in to inspired action. Okay, because inspired action is intuition. It's divine knowing. It's divine coming through us. Whatever you freaking believe in, source, universe, God, spirit, whatever. Like, it's action that is inspired through the messages that you receive through that which is greater than yourself. And the only way that we can tap into those messages is in space, in silence, and in stillness. So if you are going at 100 miles an hour, if your life is chock-a-block full, if you have a really shit relationship to time, if one of the things that constantly comes out your mouth is, not enough time, I'm so busy, I'm so overwhelmed, oh my gosh, there's so much going on right now. Oh my goodness me, you have no idea. We all have the same fucking 24 hours in a day. Okay? Like, seriously, get a fucking grip, right? Like, I don't have any more time than anybody else. I just relate to it in a better way because I've chosen to relate to it in a different way, right? Time doesn't magically change for us. We have to choose how we relate, right? It's like anything, right? It's like, oh, I have a really shit relationship with my mother. Change the relationship. I don't know, change how you communicate, right? I changed how I communicated with my father recently. Holy shit, we have a better relationship. Boom, it was that simple, right? I chose to choose my words better. And suddenly I relate better, right? Words are our wands. How do you talk about time? Like I say, if you're constantly just going, oh, goodness me, where did that day go? Like, oh, I just got, oh my God, I'm so busy. Like, really think about that. Like, what are you putting out there? Like, what are you saying? Because that's exactly what will be coming back. Okay. So the only thing with say inspired, if you're the only, I guess the only kind of counter to inspired action, here's the thing. If you are somebody that does not have trouble taking action, right? If you're someone that is constantly on the go, right? Like myself, like I'm super, like I've got a lot of fire in me, I've got a lot of drive in me. Taking action has never been a problem. Okay, my problem was getting quiet enough to listen to what was the best action to be taken, the divine action. Okay, most people are more inclined in that way, okay, in our society. Okay, there are those people that just struggle taking action, period. The people that are more kind of inert by nature. Okay, what's important for you guys, if you find yourself literally just sitting on the couch doing nothing, just take some kind of fucking action. Okay, even if it's not that divinely inspired, just take action. Okay, don't wait for like divine guidance because you might be waiting for a really long time before you even get off the fucking couch and do anything. Okay. So notice which way you are. Are you more fire-based and do you need to get quiet and still? Or are you more earthy, shall we say, and you have trouble moving? Okay, if you have trouble moving, just move. Like just take some kind of action. And through the process of movement, picking up speed, gaining kind of momentum, you will then start to realize what is divine action and what is like non-divine action. Okay, so here's the other thing, right? I can't remember if I've said this or not the other day, but it's not your job to know where the money comes from. Okay, and this this blew my fucking mind when I first heard this. And okay, so let's say you are someone, this could be, right, this is particularly challenging for people that have only ever worked for somebody else, right? If you are somebody that's only ever received money through like putting hours in to somebody else's company and in return you get X amount of dollars per hour, then this concept is particularly mind-blowing. Like if you're already an entrepreneur, if you're already making your own money, doing different things, then this probably isn't such a hard thing to wrap your head around, okay? But it's not your job to know where the money comes from. So we do all this work, we get really clear, we tune into our emotions, we raise our vibration, we work through our shadow work, we go into the light work, and then we let go of all of it. Right? We let go of all of it, but we're still taking action. Okay, again, this doesn't mean we end up back on the couch, okay, because this is not magic woo-woo, right? This is, we're still being divinely guided, but we let go of where this money is going to come from. Okay, so the reason, right? So the reason being, right? If you've only ever worked a 9 to 5 job and you're like, I desire more money. I desire more money than my 9 to 5 job is bringing me all that I can perceive that it will bring me in the near future. And you start to work with manifestation abundance. One of the tripping blocks that often happens with people who particularly work for somebody else is like, I get these concepts. I get that I can raise my vibration. I get that I can do my shadow work, but I just cannot conceive how I'm going to get more money because I don't want to work more hours. And I can't get that much of a pay rise because it's just not plausible in this line of work. So I just don't understand how I can get more money. Okay, and this is a really common thing. So here's the thing with that. When you get more aligned, and when I say more aligned, I mean all those things I just talked about, right? Getting clear on what you want, where you are, how you want to feel, doing your shadow work, moving into the light work. Like when you get really aligned, your actions become more aligned. You'll go to different places. You'll show up differently. You'll talk differently. You'll stand differently. You'll speak to different people, and you'll therefore see more opportunities. Okay. Money comes to us can come to us in any way. Okay, but it comes to us through opportunities, and it comes to us ultimately through people. So an example of that, like, it might be that you're raising your vibration, right? So, you're starting to look after yourself better. You're starting to look better. You're starting to feel better. You're starting to hold yourself better. You're starting to talk better. You're starting to talk with more conviction. You're starting to talk more passionately. You're starting to talk with more integrity, with more alignment. And you start to see the world differently, right? Like we all see the world based on our current reality. We all see the world through our own lens, right? If you're someone that fucking moans all the time, that bitches all the time, your view on the world is going to be very different to someone that doesn't. Okay, so when you have a different view and perspective on the world because you've done the fucking work, you'll start showing up differently in life. You'll start going to different places. You'll start to attract different people. You'll start to talk in a different way. And you'll attract opportunities into your life. So it might look like you do the work, and this is an example I gave to a client the other day. But let's say you go to the gym, every Saturday morning, which is great. But one Saturday, because you're really tuning into how you feel, and let's say you're female and you are a menstruating female, and let's say you've got your menstruation one week, and you're actually for the first time in your fucking life tuning into how you feel. And on that day that you've got your menstruation, you're like, do you know what? I actually don't think going to the gym is the best thing for me today because I'm on the first 3 days of my cycle. I've actually got really low energy. Do you know what? Like, I'm not going to go to the gym. I know I've committed to going to the gym every single Saturday, but this actually feels really like honoring me. So I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm going to go and do something really, really nourishing. I'm going to go to that beautiful farmer's market that's on, that I've always wanted to go to on a Saturday morning, but I've always preferenced the gym because I committed to going to the fucking gym every Saturday, right? So you go to the farmer's market and you're feeling really good about yourself because you've actually really chosen to honor yourself because you're doing the fucking work. And you're at the farmer's market and you start having a conversation with someone that you never would have spoken to before, but they just kind of recognize something in you that they recognize in themselves, which is somebody that's honoring themselves and, really truly loving themselves and showing up for themselves. And it turns out that that person wants something that you've got to offer, right? So you start having this conversation, and that's how opportunities happen, okay? It doesn't necessarily look like what The Secret talks about, $100 bills or checks just turning up in your mailbox unannounced, okay? It could look like that, but it comes through opportunities and it comes through people, okay? But you've got to be of the vibration of the people who have the opportunities that will bring whatever it is that you want into your life. Okay, and if you're that person that doesn't look after themselves, doesn't when I say look well, I mean, it doesn't look like you care for yourself and tend to yourself. If you're kicking your heels around, like if you're talking in a way that's just really derogatory, that's not really positive, that's not upbeat, you're not going to attract those people, right? Period. Like we've all got those friends who are really freaking miserable, and over time we pull away from them, right? Because they're really freaking miserable, because they're no fun to be around and they pull us down. So don't be that person, okay? And it's not, and this again, I've said this a few times, this is not sugarcoating shit. Like, this is not about like not expressing emotions that you have. Okay, we honor all the emotions that we have, but we just don't hang out there for days and weeks and months and years on end. Okay, we recognize that which needs to be processed, and we go through the healing process. Okay, but then ultimately we work to raise our vibration and heal from that which we need to heal from. Okay, so everything you could ever want is here right now. Okay, you just can't see it because you're not yet willing to see it. Everything, okay, because everything is energy, right? Nothing does not already exist in the energetic realm. Nothing. Nothing does not already exist. Way back when we were living in caves, Apple Macs existed in energy. Right? Everything fucking existed already because it existed in potentiality. Because one day somebody had a thought about creating a computer. All right, that was just energy that was waiting to be picked up by somebody at the right time. And the right time came, somebody, I don't know who it was, who first created the first computer. But anyway, they had this idea to create a computer. So they used their hands and they turned, and this is one of the other laws, the perpetual transmutation of energy. It's a bit of a fucking mouthful, but it basically said that everything moves from energy into form back into energy. Okay, so everything starts as energy. It starts as thoughts, whatever you want, however you want to perceive energy. And at some point, somebody realizes that thought, somebody takes that thought and creates it into something. Okay, so everything already exists. Everything that you could ever want at any point in your life is already in your life. You just can't see it yet. So your job is to start to open your eyes, wake the fuck up, and see what is already there. Okay. So, and here's the thing, right? Quantum physics has actually proven this, right? That things manifest with awareness. When we think of something, we have the ability to manifest it. It's already there. We just need to become aware of it. Again, quantum physics has literally proved this. Okay, the smallest, whatever particles they're called, the smallest ever things that we can, that are in existence, are only visible when they are being observed. Again, right? That's another headbutt moment. When they're not being observed, they're not there. But as soon as the light of awareness is shined on them, these particles appear. It's quantum physics. Okay. So this is not woo-woo. This is science. So, for those of you skeptics, get over yourself. This is science. You've got to be able to see yourself as that person. Okay, so think about the person that it is that you want to become. Let's say you want to make consistent 5 grand months, consistent 10 grand months, consistent, or just fucking consistent money, right? Who is that person? Who is that person? What are the habits that she has? What are the behaviors that she has? What are the languaging that she uses? What does she believe? How does she show up? How does she stand? How does she walk? How does she talk? How does she behave? And start being that person now. You can't wait till you are that person to become that person, right? You've got to be that person now to become that person. You have to have the habits of who you're becoming now to become the person that you want to become. It does not work the other way around, period. Okay, if you're waiting to become that person before you actually show up with integrity, never going to work, never going to happen. Okay, so, and you've got to believe it, right? You've got to believe that you can have what it is you want to have. Okay, and a personal example of that is, one of my next goals in the next, let's say 6 to 12 months is $50,000 months. Okay, this has been on my list for a little while, and it's been on my list for quite a while, and I've not believed that I'm capable of doing that. I've not believed that I am that person deep down. I mean, I had a sort of a conscious, desire for it, but there was a part of me that was like, I don't think I'm that person. Okay. What I experience now is very different. What I experience is this integration of the work that I've been doing And now when I reflect on that as a possibility, it's not even a question in my mind. It's like, yeah, like I am becoming that person because I'm choosing to become that person. I'm actively choosing to have the habits, to have the behaviors, to have the patterns, to show up as the person that makes that money. Okay, so you've got to, and this is why you have to consistently do the work. You can't just do it on a Monday and put it away and come back to it, a month later and hope that things have changed. Okay, this is, this is a long-term relationship. This is daily work, and this is commitment. So, and I love this phrase, like if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you always got. I'll say it again. If you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you always got. Right? So think, do you want to keep getting what you've always got? If the answer is yes, then happy fucking days. Stay how you are. Like I'm like zero judgment, but I'm not sure why you're on this call or watching this live if you're happy to stay where you are. But again, I'm guessing if you're watching this, you've been called to watch this because you want to fucking change, because you're tired of where you are. Like you're tired of your own bullshit, of staying stuck where you are in a place that's not serving you, in a place where you know you could be having a bigger impact, not only in your life, but the lives of those around you. Okay, so remember, you are both the creator and the author. Okay, nobody else, no circumstance, no situation, no person, nothing. It's you. Okay, you are the creator, you are the author of your life. Okay, so just ask yourself, how many more years do you want to keep looping around? Right? Again, zero judgment, right? Like if you've still got a few more years that you feel that you can keep looping around in the same pattern, earning the same money, doing the same, shit job, if you're in a shit job you don't like to be doing, or, running your business in a way that's really not supporting your energy. Maybe you're working 12-hour days and you're making like a fraction of the money you want to make. Like how many more years have you got left in you to do that? And maybe you've got a few years, and in which case, like, okay, like, oh, but maybe you've got to that point where you're like, I just don't want to keep doing this. I don't want to keep working in the same way that I'm working. I don't want to keep draining my energy. I don't want to keep showing up in the same shitty way that I'm showing up, with the same shitty beliefs. Right? So, be really honest, right? This is what this is about. It's being deeply fucking honest with yourself. Like, what are you prepared to do? When are you prepared to actually take this seriously and do the work? Okay. So just to touch back for a moment about being that person, right? So think about who it is that you want to become, right? And like I say, as I said in the first one, like maybe there's literally a monetary amount to it, and there should be. Do you know what? There should be a fucking monetary amount to this. It's not about money, but ultimately money is what buys us the things, allows us to have the experiences, allows us to have the impact. So, you work backwards. It's like, how do I want to live? Like, where do I want to live? What kind of property do I want to live in? How many kids do I want to have if you don't already have kids? Where do I want to send my kids to school? Or, where do I want to travel? Like, how do I want to travel? Right? Ask yourself all those questions. Get so clear on what you want. And there's a monetary value to that. It's like, cool, these are all the things I want. These are the things I want to have. These are the experiences I want to have. Well, that actually means that I've got to be making 10 grand a month or 20 grand a month or whatever it is. Okay. So, come up with a number. And like I say, start being that person now. Start being that person now in behavior, in belief, in thought. Okay. It doesn't mean that you've got to go out and spend money that you don't have, right? It doesn't mean that you've got to have this spending habits of somebody that makes 10 grand, 20 grand, 50 grand a month. Okay. But it probably does mean investing money in yourself. Okay. Because you've got to invest money in yourself to get to where you want to go. And, I know that firsthand, right? I refer to myself as a recovering lone wolf, right? I definitely had that, and this is the masculine side of our energy, right? The masculine likes to kind of go off into the woods, into nature, and do things by themselves. And I'm not talking about men, I'm talking about the masculine side. The feminine side of ourselves likes to commune and likes to do things in community and likes to share and likes to receive support and be supportive. Okay, so I was that person. I was like, I can totally do this by myself. Like, I don't need support. And a lot of that came from the fact that I wasn't willing to invest money. I didn't have the mindset to invest in my own, like, in my own personal development. So, really think about like, what are the ways that you can be that person already without without like having the spending habits of, the person that already makes 5 grand, 10 grand, whatever. Okay. Also, this is it. When you think about that person, right? That person that, has this consistent income, for example. Also, like, how does that person relate to their finances? Right? Do they, and I mentioned this briefly on the call the other day, was that I used to open my bank account like once a month at best. And it would be like this. It'd be like one eye open, one eye closed. And it would be, I'd look at it for a split second and close the screen down quickly because I wasn't comfortable with what I saw. I didn't have a good relationship with what was in there. And if you can't have a good relationship with what's in there, if there's a small amount, you're not going to have a good relationship with what's in there when there's a large amount. So start to build a really fucking good relationship with your money, no matter how much of it you have. Appreciate what comes in. Appreciate every single penny that goes out. Okay, because somebody has put their own hard work and love into whatever it is that you're purchasing. Okay. Think about like, how does that person talk to themselves, right? How does that person, let's say, relate to time? Okay, seriously have a look at your relationship to time, because this is a huge part of being also able to relate well to money and wealth, right? If you've got a scarcity of time, you're going to have a scarcity of wealth, right? If you've got an abundance of time, you're going to have abundance of wealth, right? Time is a limited resource, money is not. Think about that when you're trading your hours for money, right? Time is limited, money is not. Start to work differently if you are working in a way that's like hours for money, okay? Notice what you're doing that is not serving you. Like, seriously, notice what you're doing that's not serving you. Use your fucking time wisely. Stop scrolling if scrolling is not working for you. Stop bitching and moaning. Stop procrastinating. Like, I saw this great sign driving down the streets of Chengdu the other day. Be the person that your dog thinks you are, right? Like, be that person that your dog just runs up to and is so freaking happy to see you because you're so in integrity with everything that they think you're in integrity with. Okay. So again, unfollow anybody that disrupts your vibes, like, and become a vibrational match for what you want. Okay. So really thinking like, what is it that I want? Like, what's the frequency of that? And do whatever it takes to vibrate at that frequency. Okay. We say, if it means that you've got to start hanging out with different people, hang out with different people. If it, look at like what ramps you up, like what actually raises your vibration. Maybe it's dancing, maybe it's meditating, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's being out in nature. Like, think like, when do I feel really good? And when do I like genuinely feel like really bad? And stop doing that. Like, literally, like, stop doing the shit that makes you feel really bad. Okay. And just commit to change, right? You've got to commit. Like, if you are not a 100%, I am fucking in, I'm so over my own bullshit, then, you're going to continue on this same narrative, on this same cycle, right? You've got to be so over where you are in order to actually do the change, to make the change, okay? And believe in your inevitable success. Again, get out your own way, get out of the like how you think it's going to happen. Again, one of the other analogies I gave was like, look back over your life and the plans that you made and the ways that you thought things were going to happen, and reflect as to like, did any of that actually happen the way I thought it was going to? Right, one of us listening to a video from one of my teachers this morning, and it's a phrase that I've heard before, that something along the lines of like, if you showed God your plan, he'd laugh, right? Because our plans never go to plan, right? And they never have, right? There's always something that goes differently or changes. So remember that, and remember that like, we are not we're not responsible for how it happens. We're just responsible for how we show up. Right? That's it. You're just responsible for how you show up. So show the fuck up in a way that's in alignment and in integrity with what you want. Like, be that person already. Remember, you are both the problem and the solution to every single thing in your life. Okay? Has nothing to do with your parents. It's got nothing to do with the economy. It's got nothing to do with your nationality. It's got nothing to do with your health. It's got nothing to do with your bank account. It's got everything to do with how you choose to show up, how you deal with your shadow self, how you deal with whatever else is going on in your life, like the choices that you make. Okay. So I think that is all I've got for now. So there was lots of little bits in there of things that you could do. I'm not going to like go over specific homework, but if you've been listening or taking notes, there's plenty of little tips in there. So this is the ultimate third part of the 3-part series. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. If you're watching live, if you're watching on the replay, either on IG or Facebook, I would just love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what's landed, any aha moments you've had. Obviously, if you're watching live as well, just drop me a message. You know, things that have really resonated, things that didn't make sense, things that you know you need to work on, things you'd like to hear me talk more about. I'm totally open. I'd love to know if anything has already started to shift for you over this time. Like, even if it's just internal, that's the work, right? You know, but really, like, just notice, like, what are you starting to see things a bit differently? You're starting to see the world a bit differently. I fucking hope so, right? Because if you've been paying any attention, you should be starting to see the world a little bit differently. Okay, because that's the whole point of this. All right, so let me know. I'm really super curious. So also to let you know, starting mid-October, I'm launching a 6-week group coaching program. Okay, this is FYI for those recovering lone wolves. We evolve faster with more efficiency in groups. Okay, studies have been done. The research is out. We evolve faster in groups. So, you know, those lone wolves of you out there that's like, no, I only want to do one-on-one coaching. It's just like, sure, if you want the slow track, take one-on-one coaching. I'll happily do it, but I recommend doing group coaching. So if you want to know more about this or like have a conversation, let me know, send me a message. But just FYI, I'm only taking people on who are so over their own bullshit that they are like incredibly ready to change. It will be a deep dive. It will be a deep dive into beliefs, into subconscious, into fears, into shadow. It will be daily work, okay? And it will take big change, because big change needs big action. Okay, so it's not going to be some little airy fairy program where you get to like dance around like fairies and hope that magic happens. Okay, this is going to be deep diving into your beliefs. And, you know, as one of my deepest talks about, you've got to go to it to go through it, right? If we don't go through it, we don't go through it. And, you know, if you're listening to this and you're kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of ready. Yeah, sounds nice. I'm not sure if I've got the time to do daily work. So I'll you know, maybe. Actually, no, don't message me. Seriously. I mean, message me to say hi, but don't message me because you're interested in the program, because I only want people who are like, yeah, like I'm seriously ready to show up every single day and do the fucking work to get over my own, like to get out of my own way. Okay. So I say this with so much tough love, and I can say this with tough love because I've been in exactly the same position where I've just got so over my own story that I decided to show up. And so now I can show up for you guys. So anyway, if you're interested, send me a message. I will probably do some more free stuff, but not too much, because that keeps you in scarcity, right? You've got to start paying. I will be doing some more free stuff before August, or before the course starts in October, so mid-October. So tune in, keep like stay tuned, and I will definitely be back offering more. So, but really important, send me a message and let me know like how this has landed, if you want to hear what you want to hear more of, what really resonated with you, because that will help me to dictate what I offer next as like the free series. So awesome. All right, I have totally loved connecting with you all. If you have, like I say, any questions, if you have any thoughts, if you have anything, just send me a message. All right, peace out, everybody. See ya.